Welcome to The Cynical Developer, the podcast that helps you to improve your development knowledge and career through explaining the latest and greatest in development technology and providing you with what you need to succeed as a developer. We've recently launched our Patreon page, which can be found at cynicaldeveloper.com/Patreon. If you aren't familiar with Patreon, it's an easy way for those who are interested in this show to help out by simply pledging a small amount each month in sponsorship. Now that could be as little as $5 a month, which is about £3.80, or as much as you like. You will enable us to dedicate more time creating more content to help you, including videos, more blog posts, and even more shows. So if you can, head over to cynicaldeveloper.com/Patreon and get involved. In this episode, we're joined by James Tyler, who's been working in DevOps at RapidSpike since the company was founded in early 2015, and he has helped build their products from scratch. He's with us today to actually discuss RapidSpike, which is a new kid on the block for uptime, application assurance, and performance monitoring. So welcome to The Cynical Developer, James.
Hi, James. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Not too bad. Yourself?
Good. Yeah, not too bad, cheers.
Good. So we're here to talk about RapidSpike. So what is RapidSpike?
We are basically an external uptime assurance and performance monitoring solution, predominantly for web applications and online services. But we do have other things that we can expand into. And our flagship product at the moment is our synthetic website monitoring engine, which basically provides clients with the ability to script automated user journey tests against their websites.
Cool. So with RapidSpike, we'll be monitoring our application. So you said uptime, application assurance, and performance. Now we all know what uptime is. It's whether your website's online or not. What's application assurance?
So obviously uptime is, like you say, it's whether my application is online. So we do ping, TCP checks and HTTP checks. But we also have an area of assurance where we'll run like domain checking. So we run whois checks on your domain, which basically allows us to alert you on expiry dates and name server changes. We also do SSL certificates monitoring. So we'll alert on expiry dates, but we'll also be able to run simple security checks on the cipher used in the SSL, which is kind of cool. It's not something that many people think of, but it saved a few of our clients when expiry dates are coming up and stuff, which is nice.
Yeah, I've definitely been a victim of expiring SSL certificates and coming in the morning and the whole world falling apart when an SSL certificate's gone, and it's a panic of, nobody's done this for 12 months. Which servers are they on? Does anybody actually know how to install an SSL certificate? Yeah,
it's amazing how quickly something can go quite so wrong.
Yeah.
And then you've got to worry like who installed it, who even bought it, who's in charge of buying it. You know, there's a lot of things to come up. Usually someone is monitoring them, but we just provide that extra layer. Maybe you've got a management team who aren't too sure who's looking after these things.
Sure.
We can just give that extra assurance, if you like, on those sort of dates. There's other stuff that we do. We do like this Google safe browsing. So Google have an API, and you can basically throw a website at it, and they'll tell you if it's ranked with them for having malware or any phishing scams related to it. There's a few other minor security things, and they directly affect your rankings in Google. So obviously, if you've got any of those black marks against you, you'll want to know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's good. That I have used a couple of different systems that are in the similar space to RapidSpike, and I don't think any of them have offered that. If they do, I'm not aware of it and haven't used it. So that's quite a cool bit of tech, bit of a feature for your product. That.
Yeah, I think actually one of our customers came up with the idea. I'm not going to try and claim the glory, but I think cause a lot of what we do, especially these little monitors like that, a lot of it's customer driven. So if they've got a feature request, we have what do we call it? Feature Friday, or I can't remember the name, but every Friday the dev team sort of sit down and we plan a small feature to pop in, and these are the sort of things that we do, like user requested things, like little quick wins.
Right.
And we'll work on them for a couple of Fridays and then get that out, just to keep the ball moving, whilst we've got the main projects that we're working on through the rest of the week.
Yeah, that's cool. So you get to put in your ideas as well if the client hasn't got anything that they want to go in.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Anything. I think we've even got sales guys that come up with, or have come up with, ideas in the past, which is something new.
Yeah, definitely is. Bit of a more open, what do they call it? A platform for you to actually get in there and start digging around and playing with something that maybe interests you rather than what directly the business wants. Yeah,
exactly. It definitely involves the people that work for Rapid Spike a lot more. It's a good way of doing things, I think.
Sure. So you're doing performance testing as well, monitoring as well. Is that all like HCC packet monitoring?
Not so much. We do. We have 3 products in the sort of performance area. So we have intelligent page monitors, which are single page checks, and they'll run a waterfall check every hour or half hour or whatever from a given location, and we'll then analyze all the elements and resources that have been loaded in by that web page. We'll geolocate them, we'll run timings against them, we'll check the size of them, we'll record all the headers and things like that, and then provide that information to the dashboard.
Sure.
We then that's sort of like a single page version of our main user journey product. So
if you have any questions about this or any other episode, then drop us an email, a tweet, or leave a comment on the website where you can find all the resource links, show notes for each episode. And if you enjoy this episode, please leave a review on your favourite podcast platform, iTunes, Stitcher, whatever it is, and help the Cynical Developer to reach more developers around the globe. I think one of the things that is mentioned on the website is the synthetic user journey monitoring, which I guess is what you're talking about there. What is that? Yeah. It sounds a little bit sci-fi.
I can assure you it's not. Basically, we use something called Selenium, which you might have come across.
Yep.
It's a way of, it's a platform for scripting and orchestrating tests in a real browser, and that browser can be Chrome in our case, but it supports Firefox, IE, and I think they even have a version that will support Phantom.js, which is a headless browser.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we run our journeys using Selenium and Google Chrome, and we actually use a proxy engine called Browser Mob Proxy, which then records all of the element calls and resources that are required by a website, and that then gives us the analytics that we use.
Right, so it's basically running user testing or automated user testing, but on the live site continually.
Yeah. And we've got customers that use it on their staging platforms, and they'll just write a script and they'll set it going for 12 hours. It's controlled by them. We don't actually have a timer as such, but they can set it going and then pause it when they're done, and they'll gather some data over that set amount of time, and then have a look at it after to see if any new changes that they've put out on that staging platform have had a big impact. Right.
So the actual users of the system can write their own journeys and that directly in the web front end of the application, can they?
Yeah. So originally we started with a sort of mainly managed product. So we would write the journeys for our customers, but very quickly we had customers who were technically able to write their own, and they would want to edit them and they would want to make changes themselves, or maybe their website is changing quite quickly and they need to make changes quicker than we can keep up with. So we thought, well, we may as well sort of self-service this product. And luckily we started by creating our own user journey script, like language, if you like, which is written in a JSON format, and it's a set of instructions that are then passed into Selenium WebDriver commands. And that meant that we could quite quickly take these scripts that we'd already written in JSON and make them available to the front end securely and safely for our users to edit and run ad hoc tests against.
Nice. So it's a little bit of configuration, but it's not overly complex, which is good. That obviously brings down the barrier to entry for it.
Yeah, I mean, we've had people who have wanted us to write their initial scripts, and then they'll take them over, and maybe they're not developers themselves, so maybe they don't quite understand like CSS and XPath selectors, but they might understand how to tweak wait times, or maybe we're searching for a product that no longer exists, and they're capable of going in and just changing, like the words FIFA 2017 to another game, Call of Duty, or whatever.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, a lot of different people use it in different ways, but it's fairly accessible.
All right. Okay. So all the data that you're gathering in, do you store that in your system somewhere? Yeah,
we do. So during the journeys, we record screen prints. We record what's called HTTP archive files, or HAR files for short. And they're all stored in our system. We actually upload them to S3, and we then run batch processes that will sift through them, get any data out that they need or that we need, and do any other processes that are required at that point, such as alerting and just sort of analytics, if you like.
Yeah.
And all that's stored for up to 2 years.
Oh, right, okay.
And we can actually extend that. So our top plan, the enterprise plan, is fully customizable. So if you were wanting to have a longer retention period, then we could do that if you required it.
Yeah, sure. So there is a price tag with Rapid Spike then?
There is, yeah. I'd like to think we're quite competitive. I know I've heard the prices of some of our other competitors, and they are more expensive. I'm not a salesman, so I'm not going to try it. But we have a free plan, and that's our basic plan, if you like. Yep. And that's completely free, but it's designed for maybe someone like yourself who just has their own website, runs their own podcast sort of thing, and they just have a few sites that they want, a few pages they want to check. But that is predominantly just uptime monitoring.
Okay.
We then have a professional plan, which is $18.95 per month, I think. And that actually unlocks virtually all of our features, but just limited. So you can't create that many of them. I think it's limited to 50 monitors in total.
Right, okay.
Spread however you wish.
Sure.
But that has a 2-week free trial. So you pop your details in, and then you can cancel any time in those 2 weeks if you're not happy, basically.
Okay. So even on the lower end plans, the data's still stored for 2 years?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And you can access that in the dashboard? If you were to delete your account,
then you'd lose that. Yes, yeah. Access it all through the dashboard, yeah.
Well, that's really good, because I've got a little bit of experience with New Relic, and I think the free platform gives you 24 hours to view the data.
Right.
So, when you're trying to prove the product, it can be a little bit tough to sort of say, well, look, we can see that over the last 48 hours, the last week where we did this release that improved this bit, we can actually now prove it with this monitoring software, because you've got such a small window. So having access to the full data, I think, is pretty good. It's a good selling tool for you guys. Yeah,
I mean, we can provide it in a number of ways as well. Through the dashboard, we do a lot of aggregating of the data. So we'll maybe do like a 7-day response time graph, and maybe instead of doing it hourly, we'll do it daily. So you get 7 points. We go right down to 24 hourly, but you can expand out to 2 years, and I think that's actually monthly at that point.
Right.
But then all of the actual raw data is available through reports in the form of CSVs anyway. So you can grab that out and do whatever you want with it anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's nice to be able to get everything down to the minute detail, because it does frustrate me with a few systems that I use that you just can't get down to like granularity when you're looking at stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Imagine.
So we've got all this monitoring within Rapid Spike. The cynical part of me would say, why should I even be bothered to monitor all these things? What's the benefit of it to me?
So I think the biggest benefit is if you've got a website and it's maybe your main source of income, maybe you're an e-commerce company,
yep,
and you're selling products nearly constantly. The second you have an issue, maybe someone can't add to basket, or maybe delivery options aren't available, maybe they're pulled in from a third party and all of a sudden that third party go down, that's directly affecting your business financially. So you need to make sure that that's nearly always available, if not always, as best as you can. So I think the best way to do that is to have this methodology where you're kind of saying, right, uptime's fine, and assurance is fine. I know my domains are alive still. I know my SSL is alive, but then being able to look into scripting like critical business paths through a website, such as searches, registering, logging in, product interactions, checkout processes, that gives you that extra level of confidence in a way that your website is doing what it should do.
Sure.
And not just that, it should be doing it quickly as well.
Yeah.
You don't want someone that's taking half an hour just to add something to their basket and then get to the end of the checkout process. You want that to be pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. We mentioned that Rapid Spike is for web applications. Is it web applications only, or could I use it in desktop or mobile apps or anything like that?
Not really desktop or mobile as such at the moment. We can interact with APIs. So if you have a a mobile app that fronts an API, a publicly accessible API, then we can interact with that in a number of ways. But we can't emulate mobile apps as such. Right. We're more about like remote testing.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Sitting away and coming at it as a user.
Okay, so all the data and everything is all hosted on your servers.
Yeah.
Is there a way that I could host this on my own server somewhere if I was in a closed environment where the network doesn't have access to the internet, but I need to still know about the uptime and that the applications are running for the internal business? If it's a large business, then really, if there's a problem, I need to know about it pretty quick.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yes and no, really. We can't give you anything to store your data in, but say if you've got a closed network that we can't get into, but maybe you can create a VM that we can get out from, then we can use that as for one of our user journey or IPM injectors. Currently, we can't do that with the uptime stuff, but for user journey monitoring, if you've got like an internal intranet or internal systems that are web-based, then that can be done. Yeah.
Right. Okay, and that's because that's communication from the application out, is it?
It is. Yeah. We actually also have another product called RCA, which is Rapid Spike Connect Anything, and that's basically a method for people like yourself or hobbyists or just developers in general to write scripts to gather whatever data they wish and then forward that on to Rapid Spike.
Okay.
And we'll process that as a given rate based on your plan, your subscription plan, and we'll graph it and enable you to set up alert rules. Mm-hmm. So, as this is a real world example, we actually use this on a lot of our own systems internally. So all of our user journey injectors actually have a RCA script installed, which will send, I think we've got CPU utilization, load averages, things like that, and then whether certain bits of software are running. it will just send a Boolean true or false
Right.
up to Rapid Spike. And then in Rapid Spike, we've configured our own rules, ironically, to then tell us if any of these values change or go over a certain threshold for a number of consecutive times. And that just enables you to send whatever you want to us in whatever fashion you wish, basically.
Okay, so you really are dog food in your own product there. It's monitoring your own systems.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Which is funny.
So what makes Rapid Spike stand out from the likes of App Dynamics and New Relic and the others that are in this space at the moment?
I think it's the accessibility. I know that we've spoken to people who have dealt with these other competitors before, and getting support tickets through takes a long time. If they maybe need a change making to the system, that can take a long time. Features, that if they've got an idea for a feature, then that's maybe not even possible. I think that we're quite a small team based in Leeds. You can call us and someone will pick up and listen to you, or you can send us an email and you'll get a response pretty quickly. So that's kind of helpful, especially for the sort of thing that we do, because obviously if you start getting a load of emails saying that your domain's going out of date, or that your one of your pages on your website is down, or maybe your basket process is broken, then that's a stressful time
Yeah, sure.
for people. So it's kind of nice to know that we're there to maybe just double check things if you need. So yeah, there's that, and then price as well. We're cheaper.
Yeah. I, as I said before, I've used New Relic, and when the proverbial hits the fan, I have been sat there looking at some of the stats going, I know this is bad, and that stat there sort of tells me that it's bad, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what's causing it, and there isn't really anybody to sort of turn to on a rapid response sort of basis, really. So,
sure. I'm not saying that we'll provide technical support, but we'll certainly clarify what you're seeing in our own system.
Sure. So how do I get started with Rapid Spike? Let's say I've used some of these other services. So is there a service or an application I install on my server, or is it manual integration via API, so I have to actually write something and bake it into my app?
Okay, it's all remote, so you don't have to install anything. As I say, the only two products that we have which involve you installing anything are the run monitoring, which is real user monitoring, and that's just a little JavaScript snippet that you can pop on your website. And then there's the RCA scripting sort of interface, which allows you to push whatever statistics you want over to us. But if you're not using either of those, you just sign up, pop your URL into an add new sort of dialog window, and that actually takes you through a stepped wizard which will scan your website, suggest monitors, suggest pings, TCP checks, assurance checks, suggests a whole bunch of stuff. And then when you select what you want, hit go, and it creates a website entity in the system with all the monitors attached and running.
Okay.
It's quite quick to get set up with a basic sort of setup.
Yeah, cool. So it's unlike some of the other ones, it's not really intrusive. You don't have to actually change your application. You can take this and run it on more or less any application at all that you want to, except for having to add that small part of bit of JavaScript. But even if you were using something like WordPress, you could drop that script on the page through your theme customization, for example, and then away you go.
Actually, it's interesting you say that, and I'm not trying to plug it, but we've got a WordPress plugin,
right? Okay,
which lets you just pop your run JavaScript snippet straight into your WordPress app. So that's quite a quick way to get that set up as well, if you're sort of worried about touching the code.
Yeah, the podcast website was actually a WordPress website when it first materialized on the internet, because it had a few plugins that were, well, it made the process of getting myself online and getting the podcast out there a lot quicker. It had a lot of the podcast plugins and stuff already done for me. But I have since moved away from PHP and WordPress because I am a .NET dev. I've moved over to Umbrico and a few hosted services.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're all PHP at our end,
right.
which is interesting. A lot of people kind of find that a bit baffling, I think is the word that I'd use.
Yeah. Bemusing.
Yes. Yeah, I had that, and the ruder words.
Sure.
You get some interesting responses, but I mean, we're running PHP and it's doing what it needs to. If we ever feel the need to switch, then we can. But it's doing all right so far.
Yeah, that's good. So, was it a conscious decision to be PHP, or was it an available skill set? So you went with that.
Yeah, obviously, available skill set plays a big part. When we were first investigating how to build it, there was basically me and another lad who were complete PHP developers. I think
sure.
The other lad, he'd done some stuff in Adobe's language. I forget what it's called. Yeah, can't remember. But we were predominantly PHP. Obviously, we had the debate of, should we move to Node? Should we move to Go? And things like that.
Yeah.
But being a startup, there's obviously quite a lot of pressure to get proof of concepts written.
Yeah, definitely.
MVPs sort of running. So we had to kind of stick with what we knew. And we've used a few kind of cool tools that allow us to stay efficient and performant, such as the Falcon framework, which is actually compiled with PHP. So it's not a framework that sits on top of your install. It's actually compiled within PHP itself as an extension. So that is much quicker than a lot of other PHP frameworks like Laravel or Cake PHP and things like that.
Sure.
So it steps away from that sort of preconception that PHP is predominantly just for web applications and websites. It brings a notion that it's a bit more of like a software scripting language, which obviously people like yourself probably would argue against. But
I do try to not be too technology snobby or bring in snobbery or however you want to put it. But it is always interesting to listen and find out more about how people are using some of these other technologies to write server-side applications and stuff like that. And I think the likes of JavaScript is a prime one. There was only a couple of years ago that was for validation and animation on your page, and now you can write full applications in it. And obviously through these frameworks now for PHP, you can do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we use AngularJS on the front end, and that's all JavaScript. It's pretty complicated, but it's quick and it works. And it's quick if you're clever about how you build it. I'm not a front end developer, so I wouldn't know, but I've definitely seen a few of the front end devs banging their heads against the wall trying to figure out the various complications of it. But yeah, Angular's great. But yeah, PHP is definitely it's doing what it needs to for us. You just sort of have to work with its difficulties and know kind of how to get around them in a sense.
Yeah, but, I think that's the same for most frameworks. You've got to know about the quirks and the oddities there, and how you live and breathe with it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like multi-threading and like asynchronous processing, that's something that is a bit of a touchy subject in the PHP community.
Right.
And you get people who argue that it's absolutely impossible to do that in PHP. And then there's some people that are advocates for it. I just kind of sit on the fence in a way. I think you can't do proper multi-threaded processing, but there are certainly ways to get around that.
Yeah.
I've actually written a blog post that's on our Rapid Spike blog about that recently. So
cool.
Have a look.
Yeah, well, I'll include links in the show notes to the Rapid Spike website and to the blog and stuff. So we've sort of covered that there's a blog for Rapid Spike. Are there any video tutorials or courses or anything out there that I can go and watch and help me get up and running with Rapid Spike?
So there's no video tutorials as such at the moment. We've got a knowledge base, we've got documentation, we've got a blog, and they're relatively comprehensive. You know, most new features get blogged about. Any frequently asked questions get popped in the knowledge base, and the API and the user journey scripting stuff is all documented in the documentation. We are planning on doing a series of tutorials on scripting user journeys in Rapid Spike, and they'll start with the basics, such as just hitting a website, browsing around, then moving through to a more complicated checkout process. It's just getting around to doing them.
Yeah, definitely. It's all work, and if it's a startup, you've got a lot of coding that you need to be doing day to day. So sometimes in a small team, these things have to wait a little while.
Yeah, it's certainly a case of prioritizing. In our case, you know, there is only a small number of us, and we've got to handle like new product development and existing support, all things like that at one time. So yeah, it'll come eventually.
Yeah, sure it will. So thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to us about Rapid Spike.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine. And if anyone's got any questions or anything, then hit me up on Twitter or the company. We're always listening.
Awesome. I'll get all that in the show notes as well. So cool. Thanks for listening to The Cynical Developer. I'm James Stoddart, and you've been listening to James Tyler talking about Rapid Spike.